The biggest battle we will ever have to face is the battle between you and you. It's the battle of taking your mind to that limit and then breaking through. On the Mindful Experiment podcast, we will share concepts, universal laws, and interviewing individuals who have done just that, who have gone through the dark times and through those moments allowed their light to shine bright. I'm your host, Dr. Vic Manzo, and I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and taking this journey with me as we discover different avenues to break through those limits, expand your reality, and evolve into the person you desire to be. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on the Mindful Experiment. This is your host, Dr. Vic Manzo, and we're going to be diving deep into our number two part series of what I talked about last week when it came to how to be not so reactive in life. And as I'm doing this recording, the weekend before, I just had an awesome neurology seminar. And for those who don't know me, or for those that do know me, you know I love neurology. But for those that don't, neurology is a great way to really understand two worlds all into one. And for me, in my 12 years of studying energy medicine, chiropractic, neurology, and all that stuff when it comes to health in the body and then the energy body and all that, what it fascinates me every single time is that when you understand neurology, you understand how health really works, right? I always tell people, and I'm very strong about this, and it's a fact. You can argue anything you want, but this is a fact. If it comes to wellness and if it comes to really changing your health, truly, if you never incorporate the brain, it's fraud. Wellness without utilizing the brain or focusing on the brain is, without using that, is fraud. And because I say that, because if you have a machine, like imagine your car, and it burns 5 times the amount of fuel than it should be, and no matter what you do, you're going to continue to burn 5 times the amount of fuel without ever looking at the engine. You just think, oh, we have to add more of this. You know what? We're going to put chemicals in here and how to slow down the fuel injectors a little bit so that I can keep doing this. But at the same token, you never took the moment to look at the engine and see what's really going on with the function of the car. That's the same thing with the body. The brain controls all that. Now, the other side to the story is, on a spiritual level, neurology explains all that too. Because in order to access higher planes of dimension, you have to align. You have to create hemispheric synchronicities. You have to, energy flows through the nervous system. The nervous system is just channels for energy, your life, your soul, your innate intelligence, all this stuff to flow through to give us a human being experience and to allow us to have that. And so understanding neurology from that perspective too is just so cool. So why do I bring all this up? Is because we talked about how to not be reactive, right? And we talked about all the aspects to it. And then today I'm gonna be talking just a little bit about how can we change that process to not be as reactive, okay? And the reason why take a look at society today and just take a moment and look at us as a society, and would you say, are we less reactive or are we more reactive? And we say more, right? We're living in a world where we're very temporal. Now, you may go, what the heck is he talking about? Temporal is a part of the brain that is, when you're in a survival state, more reptilian state of the brain, more of a survival state, you become more temporal, reactive, emotional. You're not clear-minded. You become more animalistic. You become more of like animals in a sense, very primal in your state. And so things that I'm going to share with you are going to come from a neurological perspective to shift you from a temporal to what's known as a frontal. Okay? Now, frontal lobe is actually the one thing that changes all humans from every other species in the world. We are the only ones that have a frontal lobe. And the frontal lobe, you can think of this as your calm center. You can think of this as it keeps you centered and balanced. You don't become so impulsive. You are more relaxed. You make better decisions. You have impulse control and so much more. And when you look at this, right, are we being more reactive? Well, let's take a moment here. Back in the day, did bullies exist? 50 years ago, did bullies exist? Yeah, right? They were there. Did someone get picked on and bullied and all of a sudden, years later, go shoot up a school or the next day shoot up a school? No, we never saw that. So then why now are we seeing it like crazy? Right? It's happening so much more. And yes, I'm not going to get political, but everyone wants to blame the guns. It's not the guns, guys. I'm telling you, and I'm not getting political here in the sense of trying to say, oh, it's guns or the problem or not the problem. What I'm trying to tell you is, if you think it's the guns, you're missing the boat. Okay, you're totally missing the boat, and I'm speaking from a neurological perspective. You're missing the boat because it comes from if people are more living in a temporal way, especially in boys, because this is where it most commonly happens. If you look at all the shootings in the United States last 10, 12, 20 years, you're going to see all of them, or majority of them, 90% plus, are boys. Now, is it because they're evil? No. They're living in a temporal way. They don't have much impulse control. We need to change the script, okay? We need to change the process. We have to help these kiddos shift their mind. We have to help adults to shift their mind. That's why you're seeing more and more heinous and crazy things happening. And we're thinking, oh my God, this place is a scary world. And people, it's not like they really, truly, deep down are evil. No one is. And if you think that way, then you don't realize that you are them just as much as they are you. We're all mirrors of one another. So there's a point to why I'm bringing all this up, guys. And so when you look at your life and you want to focus not being on so temporal, so reactive, how do we shift to the frontal? Well, here we go. You ready for it? The best thing you can do for your life, for your children, for your family, to keep it in the most centered and balanced state to where you can allow the brain to evolve and be more in that frontal aspect of your life is through chiropractic care. That's the only profession out there that can do that. It's the only profession out there that can help this and balance it, and especially a chiropractor who focuses on neurology, like understanding how the brain balancing is, focusing on there, understanding when it's a brain versus a body thing, and how to address it and correct it and rehab it to get it back to being in a state of, which I don't like using this word, balance. Because if you're a neurologist or someone, if you're a chiropractor who does functional neurology or something like that, you're going to go, Doc, you can't really balance it because it goes back and forth so much. And I'll be like, yes, you're right. That's why I don't like using the word. But for people, I share that. But that's a huge component when you use chiropractic for that sake, because it's going to help allow to balance things. Certain people have weaker brains versus others. And what I mean by that is, for example, males, we're most left brain dominant. That's just what we commonly are. That's why you see autistic most of the time are boys. You see ADHD is most of the time boys. You see the alphabetical soup, OCD and allergies, asthma, food sensitivities, and so forth are mostly in boys because of a left brain dominant. On the opposite of that, you're going to see right brain, which is mostly female. Now, female, why is that? They're more prone to anxiety and depression. Females are more prone to autoimmune diseases and things along that nature, higher heart rate and all those types of things. Why? Because they're right brain dominant, and so there's an imbalance in the brain. So when we look at working with, we can go back and forth all day. Boys are nonverbal, women are verbal. Women have more advanced brain than men. That's why when the child's around 6, 7 years old, we shouldn't be putting in girls and boys in the same class around that age because it's unfair. The boy is about a year to two behind the woman or the girl. So there's a process of, well, how do we make sure that we keep them in a process and allow them to be able to evolve in that and really be more frontal lobe centered. And so that is what chiropractic can massively do. And when you have that type of chiropractic, it's life form transformational. Like you're not the same person in 6 months to a year. Like literally there's just a light switch and you just can't believe it. This was me. I was a very temporal ADHD type of a kid, very impulsive. Thankfully, I didn't do any harm to anything, at least living. Words could be a different story. But it's one of those things where I had a lot of issues, and now as I'm getting older and I'm learning more about this stuff, it's funny how I look back on my life and go, holy fucking shit, was I effed up as a kid. I thought I had a great life. I did, but there's a lot of work now I have to do. and unravel as much as I can. So it's one of those things, and that's why as a chiropractor, I rather work with infants because I can help shift and change them so they're on course all the time. Where when you work with an adult, all you're doing is managing, and not that adults need it, because they do. You guys need it. I need it. I'm a managed case just like many others, and I need it. But at the same token, it's really shifting kids in that process too. So that's number one. That's one of the biggest things you can do. You probably didn't expect that. Maybe you did. I'm a chiropractor. But it's one of those things that not a lot of people talk about. Medical doctors don't know about. It's even some chiropractors don't even know this. It's one of those things where how do we take the evolution to humanity and start rising back up? Because in our world, I really see from a neurological standpoint and many other things, we are de-evolving. Now, some may say it's impossible to de-evolve. I'm going to say, you know what? You can't. We're not going to go back to crawling on our hands and knees or whatever. But the thing is, we are decreasing our potential and becoming, I don't like this term. I'm going to use weaker. That's not what I want to use, though. But I'm going to use that for lack of a better term. But we're weaker as a society. We're more sensitive. We're more reactive. Things are taken out of context more. And that's not because, we're trying to elevate things. The thing is, it's not that. It's just that we're becoming more temporal as a society. And this is happening all around the world. And so the more temporal a society you become, the more sensitive we become, the more we take things out of context, and so much more. And we don't see the bigger picture behind things, the meaning of what they're trying to say. Instead of assuming, we're listening and trying to understand them, we're judging. So that's number one. Number two. A really great practice to get into is meditation. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but one of the best things you can do with meditation is that it helps focus the mind. And the more you can focus and center the mind, the less reactive you become, right? We're starting to shift from temporal, we're going into frontal. And so it helps in that process. And this is like building a muscle and building a reserve, and you're strengthening it so it allows you to stay as much in that bliss state. That's why people who meditate are happier than people who don't, because we're calming the mind. We're not firing that side of the brain, the temporal side, the emotional side, the reptilian side, okay? That's why. And so when you can do that and calm that part of the brain down, it allows you to be a little bit more of you. And you're not just that much reactive. Someone cuts you off, you're not flipping the bird and swearing at them and honking on the horn and yelling at them and all these other things. You're more like, okay, maybe a honk. And then as you get better with this, then maybe just you start swearing to yourself inside your head. And then maybe you get to a point and you're just like, oh, you're welcome. Here you go. I want to make sure you're safe there. I know, different concept. For some of you are like, this guy's crazy. So it's one of those things you want to add into the mix. The third, I love the third. The third is going to be movement. Right? Notice I said movement. Your brain, actually to feed the brain properly, you need to walk 13 miles a day. Crazy stuff. If you live in civilized society, good luck with that. There are things to counter that, but the thing is we need to move. That's what keeps us in a balanced state, what keeps the tracts in the front brain very healthy. So we want to make sure that you're moving and exercising of some sort, especially if you sit down for, the average American sits for 14 hours a day. That is killing their brain. Their brains are rotting. And now we're teaching our kids to do that, and their kids' brains are rotting at an even earlier state. It's just messed up. So we need to make some changes to help keep the brain young and keep it moving forward, which is going to allow you to not be as reactive. That's why you ever hear it, you get in an argument, hey, go walk it off. There's a reason behind that. Go walk it off. Stimulate the frontal part of your brain. It makes the temporal not react so much. And once that happens, your emotions come down and you actually can see things a little better. Hell, when I get really pissed off, I go work out and I lift some heavy ass weight. And what happens is I put all my energy into it, and when I come back, I have a clearer mind. I can have a conversation with my wife or whoever I had an argument with and see things a little clearer. You must. This is one of the ways to not be so reactive. Movement is key. And you want to make sure you're moving as much as you can. Take up dancing. I love to dance. I've been a dancer ever since I was born. My mom said I was wiggling in the womb all the time, kicking around. I told her, hey, I was dancing. It's one of the things I love to do. But find a dance that's fun. Find something that you enjoy. If you never danced before, you say, I'm not a good dancer. Bullshit, you can learn it. Trust me. There are things I thought I couldn't do, and then as I got older, I started doing them, and it's now second nature to me. Get into like salsa or bachata. I love the Latin dances. That's my big passion. But there's There's EDM, electric dance music type of dances, shuffling, those types of things. There's footwork type of dance. There's ballroom type of dance. There's line dancing. There is so much out there. And get into it. It really stimulates different centers of the brain and allows you to stay more in a frontal aspect. I always tell people I never see a depressed person when they're dancing. Unless it's slow dancing, I've never seen a depressed person when they're dancing. Look on the dance floor next time you're at a party or an event or something, and watch how everyone's smiling most of the time when they dance. They're not sad. So there's some lessons to be learned from that. Fourth is going to be get involved with your social networks. Now, I'm not talking social networks on Facebook and stuff like that. Get rid of that crap. That doesn't stimulate it. I know people. I mean, there's a lot of good that social media is doing, but all the research is showing how bad it's doing for society, how negative it's changing our minds, our processes of life, and so much more. It really has, and this is why I'm trying to minimize mine. I'm actually trying to figure out a way where I don't need to be on social media, and I just need to do business stuff, and that's it. I'm literally trying to figure this out, and I'm going to eventually get there. Because I don't want to be on there. I don't need to. For business, I need to. For you to listen to this podcast, you may have heard it from the social media. So that's my vehicle, what I want to use it for. But everything else, I don't. I don't want to be on there. Because what's happening is people say, well, I have a social group and this and that, and it's on Facebook. But guess what? There's a difference for being connected to people via the internet and connected to people in person. There's a vast difference. And research continues to show, and I preach this. This is why, everyone talks about what's the new exercise and nutrition to do. Throw that out the door. Build your social network up. Who are friends that you can hang out with? Who are family members that you want to be with? And start to empower your group that you have with you, your tribe, and connect with them. Because here's the beauty of it all. You have the health of your tribe determines the health of your mind and body. Research has shown that is more important than any food you eat or any exercise program you do. So the key is community. How do you get involved and connect with people? And I'm not talking through social media. That is one vehicle you can use, but get in person with people then. Get in front of people. There's an energy. There's a collaboration. There's something different. Think about it. Here's a great example, and I love this one. I get this feeling all the time. I can meet people, and I know them via social media, and I've known them for years. And then when they're in front of me, it's just like, whoa, there's a little bit of a different here. And there's an adjustment period. And it may not be like a couple minutes. It could be a couple hours, but it's like an adjustment period. And then I'm gelling with their energy, and I'm like, okay, cool, I got them now. Now I know where they're at. I'm with them. And then sometimes it works really well. But ever you have the difference, opposite, where you're connected with them on social media, and then you meet them, you're like, why the hell have I been talking to this person? And it's a whole different ballgame. So that's the power behind networking. Get connected with people. Get in person with people. Start to go back to some of the roots we used to do. That's going to feed the frontal lobe. That's going to allow you to be more centered and calm. It's going to allow you to decrease the impulse behaviors and so much more. That's the key of what we want to create so that we can continue moving forward. So that's pretty much a good thing. There's a lot of other things we could recommend. But that's going to be one of the best things that you can do to help continue to stimulate the frontal lobe so that you can stay more in a calm and better state. I always tell people in my practice, I teach it as the gas pedal's temporal lobe, the brake pedal's frontal. You want to stimulate the brake pedal as much as you can because actually, technically, that should be an 80-20%, which means 80% of the time, your brake pedal, known as parasympathetics in your nervous system, the calming effect, the growth effect, and all those things, your digestive, your immune system function, all that, it should be on 80% of the time, or gas pedal should only be 20, which is your sympathetics, your fight or flight, your go, go, go. And unfortunately, in today's society, I have not seen somebody yet, and we have the technology in my office to do this, to determine where they are. And so it's funny when I say funny, just understand, it's just people don't realize this. Like some people have arguments about, oh, this is what health is and this is what this is. And I'm like, if you've never tested your HRV, you don't know what your health is. You're not going to be able to lose weight properly if you don't have a proper HRV. You're not going to be able to meditate deep as you possibly can without a proper HRV. You're not going to be able to you're going to have a limited experience of life. And so you have to really, 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 really get to that state. So that's why chiropractic was number one. If you need connections, if you need someone in your area, shoot me an email at drvic@empoweryourreality.com. And I have a mass network, so I am always constantly, literally almost every other day, finding referrals for people. And the reason why is because People need it. It was something that was, chiropractic came around 1895, and it helped people drastically, and there's other things. So don't cut out that part. Add that to the mix, and then add in your exercise and other things that we talked about here to help you not be so reactive. So I hope that helps. One quick thing, as this is being released, we have our Vision 5-week program coming up online. It's going to be Thursday night. That's going to be tomorrow, June, listen to me. January 17th, I'm doing a workshop online, so check it out. The links are in the show notes. Go ahead and register. And what you can do is I'm going to be talking just a little bit about how to create the importance of vision in your life instead of goals, and why vision is so critically important. And then we're going to offer one of the programs we're launching on Monday that's going to be really, really cool. It's a 5-week program on how to really manifest your vision, universal laws, using universal laws, quantum physics, and so much more. The people who have joined this program have life-altering experiences. You can see all the testimonies and stuff on the page. Read the success stories. Listen to them. These people had massive shift in their life in just 5 weeks. And so when I do something, I don't mess around. This program is about a 10 to 12-year development. And so I'm really excited to see the results of this and how people are really transforming their lives with it. So check it out. Any questions you guys have, please let me know. As always, I appreciate you. Get connected on our private Facebook group. It is growing, and our goal is to get to 1,000 members by June. So join the tribe. This is going to be a movement, guys, of consciousness, a movement of remembering your greatness, a move to rediscover your greatness, your purpose, your life, and so much more. And it's really about being human, creating a community, and eventually, as this gets bigger, we have a vision and goal of creating conferences to have people come, collaborate, connect, and really just appreciate the human life and appreciate each individual. So that's going to be coming soon. So join the group so you can don't miss out on that and much more. As always, appreciate you listening in and tuning in, and I hope you have a blessed day.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. For past shows, please visit www.empoweryourreality.com. I hope this show inspired you and added to your life to help you on the journey to rediscover who you really are. To connect with us on Facebook, please visit www.facebook.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. Check us out on Twitter. The handle is Dr. Vic21. Follow us on Instagram, www.instagram.com/Dr. Vic Manzo. If you were inspired by the podcast, pay it forward by sharing it with someone who you know can benefit from it. Thank you again for listening to the Mindful Experiment podcast, sharing paths to help you rediscover your infinite potential.